In this village, marriage isn't something the girls wait around for. They take matters into their own hands. When they spot a man they fancy, they don't hesitate to drag him into a hut, no matter how much he tries to resist. Even if the man struggles, the girls carry him inside anyway. This situation arises because men are extremely scarce here. Many of the local girls, despite their beauty, can't find a husband, as there simply aren't enough men to go around. This place is home to the Khmer people, living in the remote mountains near the border. With women making up 80% of the population, men are in high demand. The moment a man shows up, the girls scramble to claim him as their own and bring him home as a husband. This has piqued the curiosity of many tourists. A number of single men have come here, hoping to find a beautiful wife. Just moments ago, a man passing by a small courtyard was pulled inside by two girls, despite his protest that he was just a tourist. Scenes like this are a daily occurrence in the Khmer tribe. Local men are often too afraid to leave their homes, worried about being suddenly ambushed by e-girls. Meanwhile, the girls dream daily of a man walking through their door. In many other places, young men struggle to find a wife even into their 30s. But here, there are so many girls that they can't all find husbands. So would you dare to come and experience life in this unique village?
Time you buy an airplane ticket, just ask for an upgrade. Pay a little extra money to fly first class. What it does is it conditions your mind. Once you get in first class and you see how wide the seats are, everybody get a washcloth, they got a menu, you get to decide what you want, all the drinks is free. Once you sit in first class one time, the next time you get on a plane, it's very difficult to walk past them seats. And then your mind starts thinking of ways to get back to first class. And guess what? That's what you start attracting to your life. And you start behaving and producing stuff to get you back into first class.
So here we go again. Microsoft starred MSN.com. Story is, what is a passport, bro? And what does this mean for 2024 travel? So this story was made 4 months ago. I missed it, but I've got it now. And for the most part, we are now in the middle of August. So I would say that most travel for the year is either over or it's just getting started. And the reason why I say that is because you have to remember, when it is summer in the northern hemisphere, it's winter in the southern hemisphere. So wherein I spent my summer in Bali and Singapore, a lot of the Australians who live below the equator, they had to escape their winter by coming up to Bali or going up to Philippines or whatever it was. In order to escape their winter, they had to start their summer there. So the bottom line is, it's like there are some people who are traveling during the northern hemisphere's summer, but then there are some people who are traveling during the southern hemisphere's summer. So the bottom line is the traveling is really going on all year round. Now, I would say in America, it's coming to an end because summer vacations are ending. Now, I would think that most people who travel in the North or North America, I would think that they start traveling somewhere around April or May, and that continues up until obviously August. And then at that point, unless they, have jobs where they're forced to choose their vacations, most of them aren't really vacationing in the September to October time. But, it varies wildly depending upon who you are. Some people do take cruises in September. But bottom line is, this is about what is a passport. I still can't understand. This far into the game, they're still writing these articles. What is a passport, bro? We've already established that years ago. Now, first of all, let's recognize the fact that a woman wrote this. So this is by Jessica Tucker. And this was 4 months ago. So this is a woman writing this. So right away, you have to approach it with some level of skepticism, considering the term passport, bro, is a loaded term, which a lot of women do not, agree with. Obviously, because it's detrimental to them. So it says, anyway, half of Americans find it harder to find love due to dating apps and societal pressure. Passport bros seek foreign women for traditional values due to feminist issues in the West. Impact of passport bros on the travel industry may lead to economic benefits, but also cultural loss. Finding love feels more impossible than ever. Half of the American population believes that it is more difficult to find a partner now than it was 10 years ago. This has to do with there being so many options due to dating apps, but also feeling like there are no options when looking at the apps. The fear of putting too much out there when meeting someone new. The societal pressures to find the one by certain age. Dating is exhausting. With all the effort that goes into dating to potentially not wind up without any prospects for future dates, let alone a real romance blooming, there are some that are choosing to turn the process of dating on its head. These individuals, typically males, have taken the idea of mail-order brides and essentially reversed it. What? Wait. First of all, let's think about what a mail-order bride is. In the old days, long before you had a highly organized immigration national service, long before you had biometric face printing and scanning and everything to like literally pay attention to people. In the old days, it was possible to get brides from overseas to come live with you here in America and to be your wife here, simply because poverty was so bad that there were plenty of women overseas who were absolutely ready to sign up for marriage. Not to mention the fact that women tend to outnumber men, especially when you factor in the fact that so many men die in wars and so many men die from dangerous, dirty, and difficult jobs. So even if you look now, Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Moldova, if you look at those countries now, the majority of those countries have female to male populations, which are far scaled towards the female side. There are far more females than there are males. A lot of those women want marriage. A lot of those women want husbands. They want stable families. So a lot of those women at this point, those Eastern European women, some of them are marrying Chinese men. China has a severe imbalance with their one-child policy, having created a severe imbalance between males and females. So now that there's more males than there are females. So Chinese men, for the most part, have been going to Southeast Asia or parts of Europe where they can, because the problem is it's harder for them to get wives from Eastern Europe than it is for them to get wives from Southeast Asia. Chinese men go to Burma, Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Thailand. They go basically to Southeast Asia looking for wives. The same exact thing has occurred with Japanese, Korean men. Right now, Korea has a feminist movement I talked about before called the 4B movement, where they refuse to have sex, marriage, relationships, or children with their own men. And what it's led to is a collapse in traditional family planning. So that has hurt not only South Korea, but it's also hurt Japan. In China, you may, depending upon if you watch these news articles or if you pay attention, in China, they have a rise of single, childless, unmarried women. And that is happening partly because of feminism, partly because of capitalism. These women have to work in order to earn their keep. And in working, they decide that they want a higher value man, and that usually is not going to pan out well because the higher value men want younger women who aren't working, and they'll pay their way. These high value Chinese men, they don't mind handing a woman an allowance or handing her money so that she doesn't have to work. But as far as he's concerned, she has to stay in the house. Same thing goes for the Korean men. Same thing goes for the Japanese women. A lot of these women have changed because of social media and because of their workplaces. And these men who demand traditional marriage, they absolutely refuse to marry any woman who's present on social media, constantly in the workplace. Because as far as he's concerned, you're working for another man. No, you should be here working for me. And that's just how it is. So the women can call that chauvinist, or, you're a misogynist, or you're a chauvinist. I just made a new word, chauvinist, So misogynist plus chauvinist is a portmanteau of. So I just created a new word, chauvinist. Yeah. So anyway, as far as these women are concerned, that's chauvinist. I just made a new word. But the men ain't having it. I've told this story before. In Japan, for example. Now, I was just in Japan because, I just did my vacation. I went to Bali. I went to Singapore. 30 hours it took because I had a 13-hour flight from JFK to Haneda. I had a 7-hour layover in Haneda. Then I had a 7-hour flight from Haneda to Jakarta. Then I had a 6-hour layover in Jakarta. Then I had a 2-hour flight from Jakarta to Bali. So it took me damn near 30 hours to get over there. The Japanese ain't having it. They're pretty brutal when it comes to this. So the Japanese, and even the South Koreans, they refuse. If these women pass the age of about 27, the Japanese and the South Korean and the Chinese too, I have to include them, they refuse to marry these women. They refuse. The Chinese call them shengyu, and that means leftover woman, right? Now in Japan, see, after World War II, what happened was we dropped a nuke on Japan, and when we did that, we decimated their economy. It was really hard for them to get sugar. Because it was hard for them to get sugar, it was very hard for them to have, cookies and cake. So the problem is, in Japan, they celebrated Christmas by giving each other gifts of cake. And that was, to celebrate the fact that now our economy is to a point, okay, well, now we can have cookies, we can have cake. But the problem is, if people give you cake as a gift, eventually that cake is going to start to pile up. We had the same problem with rum cake, where people would give you too many rum cakes for Christmas, and now you've got a bunch of rum cakes, right? And they just start piling up. Now, Japanese, when you get too many cakes, they refer to these cakes as leftover cakes. They also refer to them as Christmas cakes because obviously you got them during Christmas. So what they started doing was they referred to the women as leftover cake. Because if the women are over 27 or over 28 and they refuse to marry them, as far as they're concerned, that's leftover cake. So if you were to go to a Japanese man and you were to ask him, you say, I was just in Japan, by the way. If you were to go to a Japanese man, you ask him, you say, hey, excuse me, why do you feel it necessary to go down to Burma, Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines? Why do you need to go down to these poor or these lesser developed Asian countries to get women? Why can't you just marry one of the women right there? There's plenty of Japanese women. There's plenty of Chinese women. There's plenty of South Korean women. Why can't you just marry one of these women up here in northern East Asia? Now, if you ask a Japanese man that and you say, well, why don't you just settle and just marry one of these Christmas cakes, one of these leftover cakes? Well, that Japanese man, he's going to get quite upset with you. He's going to get angry. He's going to get very, very angry. He's going to look you in the face. And most likely, his reply is going to be, no! No! What the Christmas cake? No! No! That's most likely what he's going to say. So don't ask a Japanese man if he should settle for Christmas cake, because he's going to say no. He's not going to do it. All right. So anyway, where was I? Let's see. With all the effort that goes into dating, to potentially not wind up without any prospects for future dates, let alone a real romance blooming, there are some that are choosing to turn the process of dating on its head. These individuals, typically males, have taken the idea of mail-order brides and essentially reversed it. Instead of potential partners coming to men, the men go to women, sometimes traveling so much that space on the passport runs out. So they're saying that you're actually getting so many stamps that you don't have any space for your stamps to go on your passport. Those that are participating in this type of dating have been coined passport bros. One quick word on that. They've been saying that within maybe the next 10 years, we're not even going to have passports because we don't need them anymore. We have biometrics. When I was overseas, one of the things I noticed was when I would enter a country, they just took a picture of my face and entered it into a database. So they look at your eyes, they take a picture of your face, and they also get your thumbprints. So you really don't need a passport. In fact, it's easier to fake a passport than it is to fake biometric data. So passports eventually are going to go away. It's actually an anachronistic way of, how should I say, storing physical data. It's a very anachronistic way, and it's easy to commit passport fraud. It's very easy. Furthermore, as far as men going to the women, whenever you hear a woman or anybody else try to say that you're getting a mail order bride, first of all, mail order brides don't exist anymore, and there's a simple reason for that. The K-1 visa process demands that you and whoever you plan on marrying, whether you're a woman from this country or a man from this country, if you intend on marrying somebody overseas, you physically have to be with them for a certain amount of time, and you have to take pictures, and you got to share information and all that shit. And the reason why is because when you go to try to apply for the visa, they are going to ask questions of you, like they're going to interview you. So if you know nothing about me and I know nothing about you, chances are you're going to get denied the visa. They are going to ask to see text messages. They're going to ask to see photos. Depending upon what country you're in, they may ask to see love letters and such and such. Now, there are some countries where they have no problem with women going abroad and marrying men. In fact, they pretty much expect it. But there's other countries where they try to discourage the process. So the bottom line is that mail order bride stuff, that doesn't exist anymore. If it were that easy, shit, a lot of the men in America would be freaking married right now. They'd have a mail order bride living up in their house. It's not that simple. Right now, like, for instance, I'm going to drop a little story here because I like diverging. I know somebody who was supposed to, like, I was talking to the person constantly, and they were supposed to go abroad, and they were supposed to meet a woman who they were talking to on the internet. And I was telling them, I was like, yeah, man, if you go over there, you're going to love it. You're going to love the country. You're going to love meeting her. You're going to have a great time. You and her are going to have a great time, blah, blah, blah. Now, this person is a single father. So he has a daughter, and he has, he has a ex, because they were never married. And the daughter, oh, well, why do you got to go over there? Why are you going over there? But Dad, there's no reason for you to fly over there to that country. You should just stay here and spend your money on me, Dad. So, long story short, I think it's bullshit, but supposedly he claims he got sick and he wasn't able to go. And I was very disappointed in him. But I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? There's some of these dudes here who they'll never travel. There's some of these dudes here that get these bullshit passports and they think that they're just going to fly down to Dominican Republic or they're just going to fly down to Puerto Rico or someplace close inside their comfort level. But the downside is you're still here. You're basically still here in America. Puerto Rico is part of America. Dominican Republic is close enough to America to technically be part of America, considering how much back and forth we go there. You don't want to be anywhere. Let me tell you, I'll going to be perfectly honest. If you're looking for a significant other, you don't want to be anywhere in this hemisphere. The closer you are to America, the more problems it's whatever it is going to be. This is a toxic, poisonous country and a toxic, poisonous environment. I was over there in Bali and I was having a great time. I'm not going to be too specific. I was having a great time. I was in Singapore. I was having a great time. When I counted up the amount of time, video hours I actually posted, I actually posted roughly 30 hours of video. Just 30 hours. So you're figuring just 6 hours more than one day. I posted a total, for the entire month of July, I posted a total of 30 hours. The whole rest of the time, I was having a great time, getting my freak on, blah, blah, blah. So I only posted 30 hours worth of video out of 8 days, right? The reality is America's a toxic environment, physically and mentally. You're literally being poisoned by the food you're eating. I was going when I had the chance, I was testing out fast food restaurants overseas, and I was like, wait a minute, the food is fresher and it's healthier the way they serve it to you. Like if you're in Singapore, they don't give you this garbage that they give you at McDonald's here. They give you satay beef and satay chicken. They give you like roasted chicken, and then they give you beef that actually tastes like fresh beef. In fact, it tastes so fresh you might not want to eat it because you're not used to having beef that fresh. Meanwhile, here in America, you're getting garbage. You're like they just take the animal and they just toss him into a blender. It's just sad. And then over there, it's like, the people for the most part aren't heavy because they're working, they're walking. The people drive cars, but they're nowhere near as obese as we are in America. And I believe that's because of the preservatives and stuff that they're putting in this food. The people here in America, they have to have a goddamn gym membership, which most of them aren't going to use, just to have a plan to lose weight. You go to these other countries, these people are naturally thin, naturally skinny. That's part of the reason why these men are going to these countries, because the women are skinny. They're not huge. They're not obese. And the reality is this country is literally poisoning you from the time that you're born to the time that you die. I remember when I was a kid, we had Johnson & Johnson baby powder, and we had Robitussin DM and everything. And then you come to find out the shit causes cancer. But wait a minute. I used it when I was a kid. So you're telling me now in the twilight of my life I've got fucking cancer? What about Roundup? Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Just by spraying some shit on your grass to try to stop the bugs from eating it up, you're putting yourself at risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but you don't even find out about it until it's too late. It's incredible. I have to rest my case now because otherwise I could stay on this all day. Bottom line is, when you go overseas, it's like men who go overseas from this country to another country, they experience a level of femininity that they're not going to get here. They fall in love with the women overseas almost immediately. So the bottom line is, yeah, a lot of these men really do need to travel, if for nothing more than to expand their mind and their horizons. Now, the women boast, oh, yeah, we travel all the time. Here's the problem, though. They travel as groups of women. They go to these other countries. The men don't give a shit about them. Men ain't looking at them. The ones who are willing to have sexual interactivity with them, they're not interested in these women, simply because as soon as your cruise ship leaves, another cruise ship filled with new women's going to come. So they're not interested in you at all. Now, there are a couple of these guys who do want a green card, so they are willing to, get down and dirty and everything. But for the most part, it's like the men who are in their country are building in their country. They're not interested in leaving their country to be with you. It's most likely not happening. Or if they do leave with you and come back to America, chances are they're going to split the moment that they get their visa and their green card together. They're gone. And most women find out the hard way. In fact, I think some of them already see it coming, and they just play with it anyway, and they just go with it because they want the photos. They want to post these photos on social media to prove how great of a time they're having, which they're not. But that it is what it is. So, those that are participating in this type of dating have been coined the passport bros. So anyway, while not everyone may agree with the process a passport bro goes through to find someone to spend the rest of his life with, it is undeniable that if this style of dating continues, the tourist industry will be impacted. Of course it's going to be. The tourist industry is booming, specifically in areas where travel was not as popular before the trend began. Okay, so what is a passport bro? A passport bro is a black man from America who travels to another country searching for traditional values and a wife. Yeah. See, I'm not going with their definition, because the term passport, when you see the word bro, you're talking about a black man. Now, they have passport Joes, those are the white guys, They have passport chos. Those are the Korean guys who go down south. That can apply to the Chinese guys too. Um, and then, these women, they try to lie and they try to say the passport bros are just trafficking women. It's like, no. Those are called the transport bros. They're called the transport bros because they transport hoes. We have nothing to do with them. We have absolutely nothing to do with that. And then there's the women who go to these other countries. Those are transport hoes. Or, no, I'm sorry. Those are the passport hoes. The transport hoes get transported by the transport bros. You see? So, it's a very intricate system that we have set up here. All right, so anyway, close. A passport bro is a term coined by TikTok. The meaning of passport bros is black men who have decided to pursue relationships with foreign women from different cultural backgrounds, often in countries outside their own. Mainly made up of men with US and UK citizenship. Mainly made up of American black men. There you go. Okay. Passport bros state that they are looking for women who follow more traditional gender roles. Yeah, i.e., they know that they are women and that they don't try to urinate in the men's bathroom, and they're not butch, and they're not trying to fight men, and they're not trying to compete with men because they know their role. Okay, so anyway, passport bros believe that as a result of feminist philosophy, finding someone compatible in the Western world is nearly impossible. Yeah, because the men aren't trying to be with other men or women who act like men. This is because passport bros believe that Western women exhibit behaviors that are argumentative, confrontational, highly manipulative, and exhibit traits often associated with masculinity. Okay. Additionally, passport bros believe false allegations and a lack of respect for men's perspectives run rampant in Western countries. Because of this, passport bros state that they are looking for peace, appreciation, respect, kindness, and love within relationships. Values they feel are increasingly rare in their own cultural context. This is what has led passport bros on their journey to other countries where they believe they can find women who have traditional values as they travel and work remotely in less expensive locations, which they suggest will lead to a lifetime of happiness and fulfillment for all involved. Why becoming a passport bro gained popularity since the pandemic? Well, I'm going to say it just like this. Now keep in mind, the pandemic started in March of 2020. However, the appearance of the SARS-like COVID-19 flu actually began more in November of 2019. I had heard about it in Asian media in 2019 as early as the end of October 2019. It wasn't until March of 2020 that America actually did the lockdown. Now, during that lockdown, there was pretty much no travel. The airline industry basically collapsed. And when things finally opened back up, we had a term called revenge travel that was there to say that these people have been locked down for so long that now they're getting revenge by traveling. During that time of lockdown, Kevin Samuels became extremely popular. If you don't remember who Kevin Samuels was, basically he was a black man who was denouncing feminism, and he was denouncing, he was denouncing Western decay of society. Let's just say that for right now.
If you are a single man with no children and you are earning $75,000 or more, you are now platinum. Shout out to platinum. If you're making six figures or more, you are now diamond level. If you're making $55,000 to $60,000, you are gold. You are far more valuable than you have ever been. And here's the trick. You guys don't know how valuable you are. And that is why so many of my critics and detractors are angry at me, because I am waking men up to their true value. That's why they want me shut up. That's why they want me off this. They don't, because of the impact it's having upon right-thinking men and right-thinking women. It is making it more and more, it's making it less and less possible for men to get bad deals. That's why every day I walk out in this world, I get love from men. Every single day. Shout out to the two young dudes. Hadn't even hit puberty yet. No offense, but y'all still look young to me. They could barely get the words out. Those dudes had to be 14, 15. Those men are going to have a different outcome because they're not going to accept bad
So
deals.
long story short, Kevin Samuels got popular by, how should I say, having a YouTube program that everybody was watching. He would get like 30, 40, 50,000 views at a time on certain nights. Everybody was watching it. The women hated him. The men loved him. And then a lot of other YouTubers started to sound like him and copy his styles. And ultimately, the MGTOW, M-G-T-O-W, men going their own way, that movement started to, how should I say, grow, especially during the pandemic, because at that point, men, for the first time, had a chance to sit down and actually think about their relationship status and think about their lives. So the problem with men is they're constantly moving, they're constantly working, they're constantly building stuff. They don't have a chance to like sit down and actually think. This pandemic, the biggest mistake they made was letting men sit down and think. And when men sit down and think, the world changes. It's just that's how it works. So the men finally got a chance to sit down and think. They're like, wait a minute, this is bullshit. So what ended up happening was a lot of these men, some of these men like said, you know, I'm just not going to deal with these women, these Western women at all. And then there were other men who gave them a better solution. The passport bros rose up. They say, you know what? If we go to another country, we can get better women from Medellin, Colombia, and from Dominican Republic, or from Southeast Asia, from Asia, and so forth and so on. And for the most part, the passport bros, unlike Kevin Samuels, who died, I think back in 2021 or 2022. I can't remember which year it was. It was either 2021 or 2022. Kevin Samuels died. A number of the other manosphere talking heads, a couple of them were older men. They died too. A lot of manosphere channels were either marginalized, demonetized, or removed off of YouTube for whatever reason. But the passport bros have remained. And the reason why the passport bros remain is very simple. Because the passport bros are focused on, if they have channels specifically, they're focused on travel, and they're focused on, how should I say, videography of other countries, whether there's women involved or not. Now, as much as the women complain about this, there's nothing they can do because for the most part, the passport bros don't violate the terms of service of these social medias. So passport bros don't even have to claim themselves as passport bros, but we all recognize the content. And making videos about going to other countries and meeting people, that's par for the course. There's nothing they can do about that. So the bottom line is the passport bros have thrived while the rest of the manosphere has collapsed for the most part. It's harder and harder to have this type of rhetoric on these social medias. But as a passport bro, it's easier, partially because of the advertisement strategies that have been set up by these social medias. So the passport bros will continue to thrive, even if the rest of the manosphere disappears. That's just what it is. So anyway, it says, why becoming a passport bro gained popularity since the pandemic? It says the term passport bro and the impact on dating has become more popular since the pandemic. This has to do with the change in the traditional workforce. Instead of employees having to report to the office 5 days per week to work 40 hours or more, remote working has gained significant traction across many professions. Employees are now able to work anywhere, including foreign countries. That's also true. By being able to travel to foreign countries, sometimes where just a passport and not a visa are required, where passport bros believe that women have the traditional values they believe are important to a successful relationship, passport bros can date said women and see if their values, as well as how men are treated in their countries, align with what passport bros deem to be appropriate. If this is the case, then there is the option to continue to live in a foreign country. However, the more popular option is to bring these women back to Western countries where there are more opportunities for passport bros as well as their future brides. Okay, 10 best countries for remote work. Y'all can look at that later. I'll leave the link. Tired of your office and considering a move? Check out the... wait, this is going into a different thing. But wait, it says women who want to see more of the world and want to live a lifestyle of tending to the home and children while men go off to work and earn a paycheck even have their eyes out on passport bros. It may be more of a mutually beneficial relationship than it appears to be on the surface, but because the trend is a new one, it is unclear what the success rate will wind up being for passport bros and their prospective partners. How passport bros may affect the travel industry. Let's see. The effects on tourism may not be all positive despite passport bros going to lesser developed countries to find a bride. Close. On the surface, it appears that when passport bros bring tourism dollars to countries that are not as financially well off as Western countries, it would help the economy of the country. After all, some passport bros are able to come to countries making a salary of $40,000 per year and live like kings. Well, there's a simple reason for that. It's because a lot of the countries that we end up going to, these people in those countries make an average of $10,000 per year in US dollars. If you're making $40,000 a year and they're only making $10,000 a year, when you go to their countries, now let's be specific, Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, Thailand, even Indonesia. If you're in one of those countries, you can have a huge apartment for like $30 a day. When you factor that out, that comes out to somewhere maybe around $600 a month, maybe $500 a month, depends upon how cheaply you get it. When you do the math, that $40,000 per year is not as heavily taxed as it is if you were in America, or I should say the cost of living is nowhere near as high as it is in America. So $40,000 or $50,000 turns you into a king if you're in certain parts of these countries. If I were to go to the Philippines and I were to go to one of the provinces, if I had just $50,000 a year, I'd literally be King Robert Baratheon, first of my name. I'm King Robert Baratheon, first of his name, King of the Andals. You will bow to your king. You will bow to your king. Literally. And that's what it is. So while some of the tourism dollars may go to the local economy, much of it may actually be going back to the Western countries. This is because passport bros are not staying in local hotels and may not be eating in restaurants or going to bars owned by locals. Instead, many of the places are owned by a Western entity. As such, that money never circulates through the country being visited. Now, I wouldn't say that that's 100% true. When I'm in the Philippines, I like to stay in a specific condo. And the reason why is because it has there's a mall right next door, just like when I was in Bali. There's literally a whole shopping mall right next door. The place has multiple pools. Like you have like 4 or 5 pools where you can choose which pool you're going to get into. It just has a nice feel to it. And it has gated security and this, that, and other. So that place I know is operated by, Philippine investment or whatever. So if I'm going there, to some extent, my money is going to help the local area for the most part. It's not going back to the Westerners. But that's just me. Let's see. It says, explore the top 10 countries offering ideal environments for remote work with great infrastructure and quality of life. Further still, when passport bros visit foreign countries, where the traditional family values are in place with where they believe they should be, it brings a surge of tourists to the area. This intrigues developers from other countries to purchase property in these countries and develop the area into a place for more tourists to come. By doing this, some of the culture of the area is lost to make way for progress. To hell with that shit. This whole let me tell you something. This whole bullshit about culture loss, take a look at the Bronx. If I could wave a magic wand and make the Bronx disappear entirely, it wouldn't be there anymore. Instead, what I've had to do is be patient and wait for gentrification to slowly remove it from the map. Someday they may even change the name. It may not even be called the Bronx anymore. I take a look at Brooklyn, like Bedford-Stuyvesant, these parts that you hear all these rappers from, like, Biggie Smalls and whatever. Those areas used to be absolute violent shitholes. Fortunately, however, thanks to gentrification, the culture of those areas is being wiped out. You have glass and steel buildings. See, let me tell you something. This is true. This is true game right here. You know when an area is safe and good, when that area can have glass storefronts and the glass storefronts not be broken. When you don't have broken glass for those glass storefronts. When you don't have gates and chains on everything. Like, when you see gates and chains, that's literally telling you that this area ain't safe. Brooklyn was exactly that since I was a kid. And more recently, it's not that anymore. Whenever I drive through Brooklyn now, you see glass storefronts, you see glass and steel apartments or whatever. The culture has been wiped away. So when I hear this nonsense about the culture, excuse me, when I go to a place, I expect it to be safe. I expect not to have to be worried about somebody pickpocketing me. I don't expect to have to worry about somebody robbing me at gunpoint. I don't expect to have to worry about going to the ATM at 2:00 at night. I don't expect to have to worry if I decide to take a walk because, I have jet lag and I want to walk around at 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. I don't expect to have to look over my shoulder. One of the things that was interesting to me when I was in Singapore, for example, even when I was in Bali. Now, I'm like 6'6", and I'm a very imposing physically person. I'm a physically imposing person. When I was in Singapore, like, the women who were walking, like, right in front of me, they didn't even bother looking over their shoulder at me. They didn't care because they knew that I wasn't going to do nothing. And they weren't afraid of me. When you're here in America, yeah, you try being 6'6", a black male, or even a regular male. Because these women tell you up front, oh yeah, I choose the bear over the men. You try being tall and imposing and walking behind a woman. Especially, let's say 12 o'clock in the morning or 2 a.m. And you're walking behind a woman and you're tall and imposing. Let me tell you something. In Singapore, the women didn't even bother looking behind them. They didn't even care. You know why? Because they know that government don't tolerate no shit. And if I did anything to them, I'm going to find myself executed. They know that. They know that they ain't got to worry about drugs and drug people robbing you for money, for crack money. They know they ain't got to worry about none of that because they know that their country executes for drugs. They know that. So when I'd be behind these chicks on the elevator, on the bus, they didn't even, like, they treated me like it was Godzilla, and Godzilla's got a cloaking device. Like yeah, he's there, but we don't really care. And I'm like, wow, imagine being that safe in your own country. Now, meanwhile, take a look at Stephen Graham's YouTube channel. Now, he just made a whole video about how unsafe it is being, I think it was Santa Monica, California. Drugs took over, crime took over, the businesses couldn't survive and all this. Ask them Singaporeans how many of their businesses had to close because of, shoplifting. The answer is probably none. Because if they caught them shoplifters, they would beat them bloody. And that's assuming they kept them alive. But therein the difference between the culture of one environment versus the culture of another environment. When it comes down to it, yeah, I'll take gentrification over the culture of the environment. I hate it when I hear people say that shit. It drives me nuts. Oh, you see what they're... And I had this conversation with somebody. Do you see what they're doing to Harlem? They're changing the culture of it. Yeah, they're making it safe for me to park my car and not have to worry about somebody snatching the rims off my car. Yeah, they're changing the culture. I hate it when I hear that shit. So anyway, that's just where it is. It is, where am I? However, if passport bros continue to travel the world to look for a spouse in places like Brazil, South Korea, Thailand, and Philippines, and Dominican Republic, where the cheapest of holiday destinations can be found in the Caribbean. See, they always have to put in the advertisements, because if you click this link, it'll tell you where you can find cheap places in the Caribbean. Then tourism in these places will continue to skyrocket. There's also the fact that even $1,000 per month goes very far in many tropical destinations that are on the Passport Bros list. Do you understand that? Just like I said, if you're in the Philippines, a lot of people never travel. They don't understand the logistics of like the Philippines, Thailand. Most of these people earn less than $10,000 a year. If you have $1,000, that pays your rent of a condo for 2 months. $500 a month. It pays pretty much your rent and your electric bills or whatever type of bills that you would have in there. It pays. Because for the most part, when you rent a condo, the set price covers pretty much all of the amenities. So $1,000 is 2 months rent in a luxury condo. In Vietnam, a lot of the huge apartment spaces, $20 a day, $15 a day, depends upon where you are. When I was in Bali, I took video of the, what are those things called? The all-inclusive resorts that I went to, right? These things were like $50 a day, but that's because they were beachfront. They had gigantic pools. They had built-in spas. The aura of the area was zen-like. Like, it was quiet and it was beautiful. Like, I mean, it was super clean. So $50 a day, that's nothing. It's nothing. And you've got an apartment room where you could just walk right out to the beach and you can walk right back into your apartment. Like, I mean, it was beautiful. I took video of that. So, you know, you can check my videos. So the thing about it is, yeah, $1,000 a month goes a long way. The average Filipino worker, for example, she only makes like $400 a month if she's lucky. If she's lucky, every week she'll make like $100. Like when you go into those stores like Hypermart, whatever, and you see them little Filipino girls working in it, if they're lucky, they make $400 a month. Now you do the math, $400 a month times 12 months. You do the math yourself. Even if we raise it to 500 times 12, even if we said she has a better job, she's getting $500 times 12 months. You do the math yourself. The bottom line is $1,000 is a lot of money. So if you've got $50,000 coming in, oh yeah, here in America, you're working poor. But if you go over there and you're a passport bro and you working on a computer, you doing IT, you're King Robert Baratheon first in his name. That's what it is. And they don't like that. They want to take that from us, but they can't. So it says, if this happens, it will take local entities to build the infrastructure to ensure the tourism dollars stay local. Otherwise, regardless of how many visitors come to the area, profit will not abound and profit will go to those from Western countries instead. As far as I can tell, I think I've read this entire story, as far as I can tell. So Jessica Tucker has made an entry into the What Are the Passport Bros movement thing. It's actually not a bad article. It's pretty much nothing that I haven't already experienced or seen. It's not a bad article. It's not judgmental or anything. So I'd say it's a pretty decent article. Why not? Bottom line, the Passport Bros movement is going to keep on going. It's going to go into 2025. It's going to go into 2026. It's going to go to 2027. It's going to keep on going. The situation here in America has not improved. The women have not improved. That's the bottom line. And men are going abroad. And more of them are getting their passport and they're going abroad. And that's just what it is.
I hate it here. I hate it here.
When you pay attention to the Passport Bros, like they're getting women from like the DR, Colombia,
Yes.
The Philippines, Thailand, like women that can speak very little English, women that don't have education, women that
need them. Women that need
women
them.
are raised to be wives. They learn everything
these other communities,
from birth, from their father, from their mother, how to be a wife and how to support your man.
Women that need them.
It's not even women that need them. It's women that treat them with respect.
So we don't.
Y'all know y'all don't.
Look, you stop yourself.
Y'all know y'all don't.
That's not true.
These women are poor and vulnerable.
Easier to manipulate.
Know their place.
Disadvantaged. Are in dire financial need.
They want their visas. They have to be quiet. They don't know no better. That's why you have to go to developing countries to try to take their women, and it sickens me. And
Yes, they'll do what you say.
she is in a dire situation
Because she doesn't know about much in life.
They have to bow and scrape at these men's feet. If you are a man and brag about go to underprivileged third world countries to get a wife, an obedient wife, you are a predator.
Well, hello everybody. I'm from Thai.
I'm from the Philippines.
We're sitting here long ass time for our passport to come in. So where are you?
We're waiting for the passport, bro.
Don't hate.
Cheers.
And she just kissed me too. Yeah, I gotta book my flight. That's it. I'm booking my flight.
To be continued.